All right, the Rangers over the White Sox, 6-5, the final score. We're going to talk about tonight's game and then discuss some big picture topics. I want to hear from you, 877-881-1053. Do you want this team to buy? Do you want this team to sell? A little bit in between. How would you describe your desires for this team's approach in advance of the trade deadline? That's our post-game poll question at Jared Sandler on Twitter. Find that, submit your thoughts there, but would really want to hear from you, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. That's the number to call and the number to text. Before we get into anything beyond this, Rangers win, Astros lose. And, because we're really sad that the Astros have lost 7 straight games, I think we should just do it one more time. Rangers win, Astros lose. I forgot to plug it into the phone so that all the Facebook Livers can hear it. Rangers win, Astros lose. There you go. The Rangers 6.5 back of the Astros with the other results around the American League. For those who are scoreboard watching and wild card standing watching, the Red Sox blew a 5-run lead. They lost to the Blue Jays 8-7. So the Rangers are now a half game back of the Red Sox for that second wild card spot. Also a half game back of the Indians. The Indians and the Red Sox trail the Rays by 2.5 games, meaning the Rangers are 3 games back of Tampa. All right, so here's the deal. No matter how you're listening now, I'm going to give you all the options that apply most nights. 877-881-1053, the number to call and the number to text. You can listen on 105.3 FM. 1053thefan.com is one online option. The radio.com app on your smartphone listening device is another. Every night we also provide a Facebook live stream. Go to the 1053 The Fan Facebook page. You can not only listen to the show, you watch the show, and I think the coolest feature is that you can chat in the comments section with Rangers fans like yourself. We got Phil and Jay and Terrence in there right now. A number of folks, we got about 20. We'd love to add to that. Tonight, you can also listen on Periscope or watch on Periscope. Go to @JaredSandler on Twitter. The link is live there. All right, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. The post-game poll, which best describes how you feel about the Rangers' trade deadline approach? Big buyers, conservative buyers, sellers, or other. 68% of you want the Rangers to be conservative buyers. I don't have the ability to define that in that poll content with a character limit. To me, conservative buyers is, how I would define that is, you're going to maybe go and spend very little in the way of resources or assets to maybe get a fifth starter or get some bullpen help. You're not going to give up anything of significance for a rental, but you still could perhaps give up something of significance for a controllable starter. So that's how I would define that. We're going to get into this here in a second. I just want to quickly go through a few things. Lance Lynn, I thought, battled tonight. He missed his location on a pitch to Tim Anderson in the first that resulted in a 3-run double. I'm still not convinced that should not have been caught. Not by Delino. I'd have to go and rewatch it to see where Maz was when he started, because that's a ball that is converted into an out about 75% of the time. And my guess is that that's oftentimes the right fielder who makes that play. But, if Maz wasn't positioned in a way that it was realistic for him to go back and get that, then, maybe bad luck. The wind also, I think, carried that ball from what appeared to be Delino's ball in right center field to maybe what was more in Maz's territory. The wind, especially without these wind screens, is tricky. Either way, Lance Lynn didn't make a good pitch, and the White Sox ended up scoring 4 in that inning. They get 1 hit the rest of the way. It was another mistake pitch to Tim Anderson that he hit midway up, halfway up Breeds Hill. This is one of those games where if you just look at the box score, it doesn't do Lance Lynn's performance justice. When you give up 4 runs in the top of the first inning, it's easy for things to snowball. It's easy for you to just not give your team a chance to win. I'm not sitting here saying Lance Lynn was awesome by any means. He wasn't. But he gave his team a chance to win. And this team won just as much because of Lance Lynn as maybe you would say they barely won because of Lance Lynn, if that makes sense. I think ultimately Lance going 7 innings, allowing 1 run from innings 2 through 7, gave this team a great chance to win. So hats off to Lance. I'll tell you, he's fun to watch. And we're going to hear from Lance in a second. I think he's a pretty fun pitcher to watch, the way he competes, the way he battles. In the bottom of the sixth, that's when the Rangers got their 2 runs to tie and take the lead, a lead that they would not give up. I just thought quality at bats that inning. Evan Marshall had not allowed a run all year, an earned run all year. I thought what he did was pretty impressive, or what the Rangers did against him was pretty impressive. I just thought quality at bats from, starting with Logan Forsythe, forcing him to come into the zone. Ronald Guzman going the other way on a 3-2 pitch. And then you had Elvis battle, base hit, Chu battle, base hit, Delino fouled some pitches off with 2 strikes. He ends up shooting it up the middle. Eric mentioned of those hits the Rangers had, Guzzi, Mathis, Chu, DeShields, 4 singles in a row, none of them were pulled. The Rangers with a really impressive approach, working up the middle to the opposite field gap there, they end up taking the lead. Nomar Mazara with 2 home runs, seeing the ball. The timing is the key. I asked someone on the coaching staff earlier, how do you more consistently tap in to Nomar's power? And they said it's all about timing. And Nomar's timing was locked in tonight. It was there yesterday. And I think what's interesting, he homered on a changeup and he homered on a fastball. So it wasn't just cherry picking one certain pitch. Homering on 2 different pitches, 2 different speed ranges. That was nice to see. Nice job by Leclerc and Martin. Interesting that Jose Leclerc got the tough hitters, 2, 3, and 4. He disposed of them in order. Chris Martin worked around an infield single that, probably the right scoring decision because of how hard it was hit, but a play that probably could have been made. Tough play, tough chance, but it wasn't like he gave up a ball off the wall or anything. He continues to pitch well. The jump in velocities made a big difference for Chris Martin. I tweeted this earlier. This year, entering tonight, he had thrown 33 pitches, 97 miles an hour or harder. He did that just 6 times all of last year, and he's exceeded 98 miles an hour now a handful of times. He didn't do that at all last year. He's pitching really well. One quick teaching moment, if I may, before we get to the calls. We got people lined up. We need to get to them. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text. In the first inning, Ronald Guzman with 2 men on and nobody out, runners in the corners, got a ground ball. Could have turned 2, looked to see if the runner from third, Larry Garcia, was going home. He wasn't, so Guzman took the out at first. But he prevented the run from scoring. That gave the White Sox second and third with 1 out instead of nobody on, 2 outs, and a 1-run lead. The reason why I think the right play would have been to turn 2 is because Chris Sale was not on the mound facing you that night. If Chris Sale was the opposing starter, you keep the run off the board and you take your chances that you can get out of that second and third 1-out situation. But because you had a bad pitcher on the mound, what you don't want is the big inning. And I think that by making the choice he made, it gave the White Sox a chance in the big inning, at the big inning, and they ultimately got the big inning. Not all Guzzi's fault. I just think in that situation, my guess is Chris Woodward would say, hey, like where your head's at, probably go for 2, they'll get the double play, because Odrisamer Despaigne, for lack of a better word, sucks. But either way, works out, the Rangers get the 6-5 win. All right, let's go to the phones. We're going to hear from Lance Lynn. I want to hear from Nomar Mazara, but first I want to hear from Colton in Denton joining us on Rangers Extra Innings at 877-881-1053. Hey, Colton. Do we have Colton? Oh, there you go. Sorry, Colton, I couldn't hear the beginning. If you could start over, I apologize. If you don't mind, Colton, who are some of those guys that jump out to you that maybe you would try and package? Got it. Okay, so I appreciate the call, Colton. 877-881-1053. You know, I understand what Colton's saying. I don't know. I'd be curious as to what Nomar Mazara's trade value is. I think one of the things that hurts him is that he hasn't yet proven that he's anything more than the guy that he's been over the first 3 years of his career. You know, I think last year he would have been able to demonstrate that statistically had it not been for the thumb injury. And I think that he's kind of on his way to taking a step forward this year. The problem is it doesn't give you much defensively, doesn't give you much on the bases. I don't know that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has a whole lot of value because if he's anything other than a catcher, he's good defensively, but he doesn't hit nearly enough to be an everyday player in any of those spots. And Ronald Guzman, you know, right now is just kind of fighting to stay above water here and show that he's an everyday player. He's has to prove that this year. He's hit better over the last few games. But you know, I don't know that there's a ton of value. That's not to say the Rangers wouldn't move those guys, but I don't know that you're getting anything that's really going to help the organization really take steps forward. But you know, I think Colton suggesting he's in a weird place. I think we're all, a lot of us at least, are in a similar position there. Do the Rangers buy? Do the Rangers sell? And I guess I want to go backwards to forwards here on this. I guess one thing that can maybe help you answer the question for yourself, and to me the big key here is Mike Minor. As far as buying or selling, I mean, the Rangers can go and try and buy some you know, small value, low value guys, relievers, you know, a fit number 5 starter, guys that are going to cost a lot in the way of resources. You know, that's not going to do anything that's of consequence to your organization. And I think no matter what the Rangers' record is, they will be interested in controllable starters because it's almost like an extension of free agency. We talked about that. But the key here is Mike Minor. What do you do with Mike Minor? Do you buy around him and thus not sell him? Do you sell him or do you try and extend him? I think the question is this, and we don't know what offers will be on the table for Mike Minor. But let's just assume, for the sake of this conversation, that Mike Minor, who's a controllable starter, probably not like a top 3 AL Cy Young guy right now, but probably top 5, certainly top 7. You're going to be able to get something way better than what you got from a package standpoint than what you got for Yu Darvish. So let's say the Rangers can get a stud pitching prospect who, you know, I don't know if he's a year away, 2 years away, whatever. But someone who could be you know, profiles as a top of the rotation type pitcher. Maybe not an ace, maybe an ace, but a top of the rotation type pitcher. Is it worth compromising your ability to get that if all you are guaranteed is one playoff game? And if you lose that game, that's it. Now, I'll add another layer, because this is the more likely layer. What if now, by not moving Mike Minor, all you're guaranteed is a chance to compete for that one playoff game, but it's not like a guarantee you're going to get that playoff game. If on September 28th or whenever the season ends, that's it. If game 162 is your last game, are you going to be kicking yourself in the rear for not capitalizing on that great deal that might be out there for Mike Minor? And it's a tough question because the other way you can look at it is, well, hey, I think that I'm a big free agent away from maybe more earnestly competing for a wild card next year if I keep Mike Minor. And why don't I try and sign him to a 2-year extension? Now, I don't know what Mike Minor would want, what he wouldn't want. 2 years at $20 million per year, would he take that? Would he do 3 years at $16 million per year? You know, I just don't know. obviously, with all these things, will you trade Mike Minor? You're only going to trade him if teams give you the order and teams give you, the package that you want for Mike Minor, and you're not going to just extend him for the sake of extending him if you can't get a good deal. But I guess the question I'm constantly trying to ask myself is, if things don't work out, is it worth not moving Mike Minor, or is it worth not doing this or not doing that? Maybe it is. Maybe just that experience, in your opinion, is worth it. I think that's one way to maybe approach that conundrum. All right, let's go to Danny joining us here on Rangers Extra Innings at 877-881-1053. Hey, Danny. What's going on? What do you got for us? Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, we only have however many months left in this ballpark. I think what's it now? 39 games left. I think, and I could be wrong. I thought that those windscreens came up after Juan, certainly after Juan's first go around with the Rangers. But the home runs that Maz hit tonight and yesterday were not impacted by the lack of windscreens. I mean, those were absolute bombs that would be out no matter what. I think where the windscreens play a role, for instance, that Tim Anderson 3-run double in the first inning. The wind doesn't just impact home run or not. It impacts the way the ball carries and moves in the outfield. That ball played tricks on Delino DeShields and ended up more in Maz's territory. When off the bat, it looked like it was going to be to the left of the way that the wall angles in, the angled portion of the wall. And it ended up going to the right of it from the home plate view. So the windscreens, yes, they do turn some fly balls into home runs, no doubt about it. They also have other impacts as well. I don't think that the Maz home runs were impacted by the windscreens. But it's really, Danny, I think it's kind of a non-conversation just because we've got 39 home games left. And next year, obviously, it's going to be a different setup, a different dynamic. But, it is interesting when the windscreens aren't here and we have windy nights like tonight, how that impacts things. I do think that there have been some home runs over the last few games this homestand that maybe wouldn't have been had it not been for the windscreens. I think that applies to both teams, though. I don't know that it's necessarily this homestand favor just the Rangers. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. We got some text here. This one is from the 817. We got a few texts here from him. The Rangers are in a weird spot, still need a couple more weeks to see what we need to do. I don't think you get rid of any good pieces. Would love to bring something in, but have to be right before or after the break. The problem is if you buy around him, I think he's suggesting Minor. You're probably buying something as good or better possibly. That's okay. At the same time, if it's just a loner top-of-the-line guy, we feel like, you know what, if he doesn't come back. The problem with the loner top-of-the-line guy is not only do you give up assets, but then in order for him to come back, you're going to have to give up a lot of money, too. So to me, it makes no sense to give up a lot in terms of resources for a guy who's a rental. Unless you're not giving up a lot of resources. Then, rentals are fine. For instance, Will Smith is one of the better relievers in Major League Baseball. Recent history shows that rental relievers aren't going to cost you a ton in the way of assets. So I'd be interested in what the price tag for Will Smith would be, or someone who's maybe a step below. If I'm not giving up a top 20 prospect for a guy or a top 15 prospect, I'm okay with it. But I'm not giving up anything in the top 15 for a rental. I'm just not. The thing, though, that the 817 brings up, which is true, we're having these conversations because it's fun. I mean, baseball's a talking sport. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's interesting. What are the Rangers going to do? What are they not going to do? But I think we need to remember that to some degree, it's June 23rd. There's still more than a month until the deadline. That's not to say that the trades only take place in the 48 hours leading up, but the Rangers don't need to commit. It's not like they're filing paperwork as a buyer or a seller. They're going to keep, I guess, assessing both sides and entertaining both sides. And then as they get more information, more data in terms of how this team's performing in the rest of the American League, then maybe they'll commit. I'm still not sold personally that the second wild card spot gets in with anything fewer than 90 wins. I still think with how top-heavy the American League is and how much heavier that's going to get once some of these bottom feeders unload even more, I think that the second wild card team is going to win 90 games. I feel very comfortable in saying at least 88. Can this team win 88 games? And if not, how far away are they from being a team that gets to 88 games, 88 wins? I just think there are a lot of interesting questions here. My stance right now is this, and it's really remained unchanged. I think that if you are still in the position the Rangers are in on July, after the All-Star break, and if there are deals that happen before the All-Star break that you miss out on, then you miss out on from the standpoint of a buyer. At the All-Star break, if you're still in this spot where you're right there with the Red Sox, then I think you look to maybe get another reliever and maybe a fifth starter, or not necessarily a fifth starter, but in terms of ranking or where they stand within the rotation, but a guy to allow Jesse Chavez to maybe move back to the bullpen, or perhaps if Adrian Sampson doesn't turn things around, or if Ariel Gerardo struggles, then that Jesse stays in the rotation and the guy you get takes their spot. I think no matter what, you're looking for a controllable starter. If you get it, great. If not, no big deal. And I think no matter what, you're taking offers from Mike Minor. And if you get one that just blows you away at any point, then you jump on it. Like I'm talking about blows you away, you're shocked that sort of talent is on the table. But you still have that bar, right? And if you do get an offer above that bar, then you got to consider it. I'm sure the Rangers are at least talking to Mike Minor's agent about what an extension would look like, just so they know what exactly they would be dealing with if they didn't trade him. I think there are a lot of different factors that go into that. But I guess the question once again is this: if the Rangers make the playoffs and lose in the wild card game, and you don't trade Mike Minor, are you okay with that? Or do they need to win that game? Do they need to win a series? And then understand the odds and the probabilities of all that happening. The Rangers right now are still, I think, well below 25% chance of making the playoffs. So, you got to consider those things. I understand emotionally and passionately as fans, we want this team to be going right down to the wire in September. I'll also tell you this, there have been teams last years who have traded away their equivalent of a Mike Minor, maybe still added a reliever and said, hey, all right, go give yourselves the best chance. So the Rangers could be, big sellers and small-time buyers. That works too. This is from Tolo Josh, the 2-1-0. A World Series team needs 3 great or good starting pitchers and a stellar pen to win. I feel like we're too far from that to try and fill the gaps this year. If that's the template you're trying to get to, I agree. I do think the Rangers, really, Mike Minor's I guess it depends on your bar. I think Mike Minor is a great starting pitcher. I think Lance Lynn, since April 28th, has been a very good starting pitcher. I don't know that a third one is there for the taking at the deadline. I think the pen is okay. It's not Kansas City Royals, Yankees dominant pen, and the pen's fine. As it starts to kind of take shape with the addition of Pete Fairbanks, and now that Chris Martin's settled in and Jose Leclerc settling in, and it's not a great pen. I'd say that teams win World Series in different ways. That Kansas City Royals team that won it a few years ago didn't have a good rotation at all. They had an awesome bullpen, and they had a lineup that got the most out of every little speck of ability they had, and they got hot. They were really good defensively. Then there are teams like the Nationals who've had these amazing bullpens, or amazing rotations, and they've really, really struggled. They haven't been able to win a series. So I agree with Josh, from a general standpoint. Yes, that's the template. That's a great template to have. I don't think that's the only way to win it. I'd say, though, that the way this Rangers team profiles, it would be very tough to see them winning a series against the New York Yankees or the Houston Astros, because that's who they would face if they won the wild card game. It'd just be really, really tough to win. And the other disadvantage the Rangers have is that they're not willing to go all in for it this year, nor should they, because that's not how you stick to a plan and allow a plan to manifest and open up a window for several years by knee-jerking in this situation. So the Rangers are not wrong in not being willing to go all in, but there are going to be other teams that are willing to go all in or go almost all in that are going to really improve themselves at the deadline, and the Rangers aren't going to necessarily be in that boat, and that's okay. From the 817, if you don't trade Minor, why do they need a talk extension? Let him pitch next year to make sure this isn't a fluke year. Hey, 817, that's not a bad idea at all. I'm just saying, why don't you find out what it might be? What the parameters would be. Because the one thing you don't want is Mike Minor to just walk at the end of next year. You're probably not going to be trading Mike Minor next year. If you don't trade him this offseason, I don't think the Rangers are going to trade him at the deadline next year, because my guess is if they don't trade Mike Minor, their team is going to be good enough to really fight for that wild card spot. And so if you extend him, even if he takes a step back, you're not going to probably be paying him a ton because of his age. Like he's not going to be a $30 million a year guy. He's probably 15 to 17. And even if that guy ends up pitching like a number 3 or a number 4 at $15 to $17 million a year, you take that chance. Here's the deal. If I had to guess how it plays out, you have 3 options: trade him, keep him, no extension, or extend him. I think trading him is still the most likely. From the 817, Rangers need to stand pat. Too many one-run games to get an itchy trigger finger for anything more than a solid reliever. Roll with this crew, get the best out of what they are, a good mix of youth and veterans playing good and entertaining baseball. Yeah, no doubt. Don't disagree with that opinion one bit. From James on Facebook Live, if we trade Mike Minor, who's in our rotation next year? We aren't guaranteed to sign any big free agents. There's no doubt with that, James, but the whole idea is that you're also not next year going for a World Series. You're still probably a couple years away. So you go out, Lance Lynn's in your rotation, hopefully Joe Palumbo's in your rotation, maybe Ariel Jurado. You can go out and still sign another guy, just like you signed Lance Lynn this year, and give yourself a chance to have a decent rotation. And you're right, you don't get Garrett Cole. It's unlikely. Just the odds are not to where the Rangers are favorites to get Garrett Cole. But you're still not targeting next year as your go for it year. So that's why I think you can have that conversation. From Bob, what a world we live in where $17 million per year is not that big of a deal. I don't know if that's like a ha-ha, it's crazy that we say that, or if Bob disagrees. The reality is you're paying a guy $17 million a year to be in your rotation for 2 more years beyond next year. That's not going to cripple you if it doesn't work out. From Vance, when does Matt Bush get back to Arlington? I'd say he'd maybe be considered an option by the end of next week, and depending on how he continues to progress, go from there. From 972, why are we talking buy or sell when our front office hasn't shown us they are willing when we have a new stadium coming? And what do we have to sell anyway? The front office hasn't shown they're willing because there has been zero reason for them to spend big in the previous off seasons. This team has been more than a big fish away, so they've been waiting for the right chance. I think they've come out and said that they're going to be very aggressive in subsequent off seasons. Maybe guys like Garrett Cole or Anthony Rendon. The Rangers don't have a ton to sell, but Mike Minor could bring in a lot. So they have a guy who's going to be one of the more valued deadline pieces, whether or not they move him. So they do have a guy to sell. And then, if they do go into full seller's mode, then maybe a guy like Sean Kelly or a guy like Chris Martin, one of those guys draws interest from teams. Not big names by any means, but they do have pieces to sell, Mike Minor being chief among them. Again, the front office, it made no sense for them to go out and sign some of these big-name guys. Jake Arrieta. So you get Jake Arrieta, you pay him that big contract, and over last year and this year, you got a guy who's got an ERA of around 4, who's maybe adding a win or 2 to the standings and not making a difference as to whether or not this is a playoff team. And now you've got all that money committed, and maybe that hurts your ability to go out and get a Garrett Cole. When you are not really competing for anything, when you are a last place or close to last place team, signing these big names doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You wait for that time when you're in striking range, and I think that starts this offseason with guys like Garrett Cole and Anthony Rendon. All right, from the 469, we are a series sweep and a half behind the Astros. Crazier things have happened. I appreciate that perspective. There's no doubt crazier things have happened. I will get a faux hawk, or what's a crazy haircut? I'll get some sort of crazy haircut 469 if the Rangers win the division, and I'll keep that haircut until spring training next year. The Astros are super loaded, and they're going to be getting George Springer back. They're going to be getting Carlos Correa back. They just got Jose Altuve back. They got Yordan Alvarez in the mix now. They're probably going to add a starting pitcher at the deadline. It's a crazy loaded team. From Renee, hey Jared, do you have to add a 1 when you call or text asking for a friend? You do not. I don't think. I don't think it would hurt you. I don't know. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053 is the number to call, the number to text. All right, Kyle says a Hulk Hogan haircut. If the Rangers win the division, I will get a Hulk Hogan haircut at the end of the season until spring training. I will gladly do it. Absolutely. Happy to do it. From Jay, is it more of a buyer's or seller's market this year? I know it varies year to year. Jay, I think there are teams like the Rangers who will dictate that. I think, there are a few teams who you don't know whether they're going to buy or sell, so I think it's tough to do that. From Phil, would I like to try for Marcus Stroman? I'd be interested in what the price tag is. I'm not in love with Stroman, but I like him more than Aaron Sanchez. I'd be interested. From the 903, I've been trying to call for 20 minutes. Please answer. Larry, if we've got someone from the 903 calling, please answer. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the calls don't actually go through, so try again. I apologize, 903, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. All right, I'm going to give some people a chance to get their final calls in. While we wait, let's hear from Lance Lynn. We'll go back to tonight's game. The Rangers win 6-5. Lance Lynn, 7 innings, battled after a 4-run first, allowed just 1 hit the rest of the way, allowed 5 runs over 7 innings, picked up the win, his 9th of the season. Afterwards, he spoke to the media. This is Logan Forsythe, by the way, not Lance Lynn. Oh, here's Lance Lynn. There you go. That was Lance Lynn talking with Emily Jones after tonight's game. Interesting thoughts there from Lance. 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. You're going to get to the phones here before we sign off for the night. But a question from Bob on Facebook Live. Just a reminder, you can always go to Facebook Live to join Rangers Extra Innings. Bob wants to know, if the team does become sellers, does Hunter Pence bring any interest? I think he would. I just don't know how much you get for a guy that's probably best as a DH. He's not going to give you anything favorable defensively. So, you're probably not getting like a top. I don't think you're getting a top 10 prospect from a team unless it's a weak farm system. But if you aren't going to sell, if you are going to sell, I'd imagine they would listen. I just don't know that Hunter Pence gives you a lot. Maybe you package him with someone, but still, it's one of those things where he'd be of interest, but nothing that's going to really pump you up. Someone that can help bolster the depth of the Rangers prospect group, if that makes sense. All right, let's go out to, we've got Jack in Rockwall joining us here on Rangers Extra Innings. Hey, Jack. Hey, what's going on, man? What do you got for us? I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks so much. Of really making a deep push. Yeah. It's bringing, first of all, I appreciate the call, bringing the title back. I guess that's, yeah. Well, no. I mean, it would be back because, unfortunately, the Astros brought it to Texas a few years ago. But I appreciate the call, Jack. So, it's not going to be easy. It's not like the Rangers have some super stud prospects coming up through the system. They've got guys that they're hopeful will be contributors. But what I'll say is this. I do think the Rangers are going to be very aggressive in free agency this offseason. I can't sit here and guarantee that they're going to get Anthony Rendon or Garrett Cole. I'll tell you that I feel really good about the Rangers' chances to get one of those guys. But they're going to be, 10 to 15 teams going after each of those guys. And I'd like to believe the Rangers will have a really good shot at getting them. I think the Rangers have the money to go after those guys, but it's so tough to know. But I do think the Rangers are going to be very aggressive in free agency. I think they've demonstrated, just look at this year. They've demonstrated the ability to get quality role guys and kind of sift through the market for those guys. Lance Lynn, relative to what he's giving you, $10 million a year, that's awesome. Asdrubal Cabrera's been okay, but you're paying him like $2.5 million. Logan Forsythe, Hunter Pence, Sean Kelly. I think the Rangers have demonstrated an ability to kind of surround their team with these types of players. Now, to put together a roster that is equal to the Yankees or the Astros in terms of just sheer talent, the Red Sox last year, they're probably more 3 to 5 years away from that. But that doesn't mean that they can't in 2 years make a serious run. But to really develop the talent in a way to where you got a powerhouse roster, probably 3 to 5 years. And that's okay. But, all it takes is one really good off season, and maybe that changes. Or maybe a Mike Minor trade kind of expedites that process, depending on what you get. I just don't know what the market's going to be. Not that I think it's going to be weak. I just don't know how strong it's going to be. So I think there are a lot of variables here. But I do think that I think that this is the first year of the Rangers really going in the right direction. And maybe it takes 5 years, maybe it takes 3, maybe it takes 7. But I think they're laying the foundation to really open things up for the next decade and make things exciting. I hate to say this because, I'm a fan just like y'all. I want the Rangers to win a World Series. And there's not a day that goes by when I show up to this park and I don't think about 2011. I'm serious. I don't. When the Cardinals played here It was sickening for me. I just wanted the series to end. There's a part of me every time I watch Lance Lynn that, like, I just think of 2011. As much as I like watching Lance Lynn, one team wins the World Series every year. And, you know, I can't sit here and guarantee that within a decade the Rangers will have one. I'd like to believe they will. I can't guarantee it. But what I can tell you is that I think that this is going to be a team in 2 years that people are really taking seriously as contenders for a World Series, even if they're not the odds-on favorites. All right, from the 817, what can Rangers get for Lance Lynn? That's an interesting question. You know, I don't see them trading Minor and Lynn, and I think that trading Lynn is unlikely. I think they love just the innings-eating ability of Lance Lynn. I think they love the attitude. Not that they don't for Mike Minor. I think they love Mike Minor, too. I don't see them trading Lance Lynn, but again, if someone calls them and says, hey, what about X, Y, and Z for Lance Lynn? And X, Y, and Z is some package, they're like, oh my gosh. I don't think you could get as much for Lance Lynn as you, right? I know you couldn't get as much for Lance Lynn as you could get for Mike Minor, but I still think you might be able to get more. You know what? If you ask me tonight, I'll tell you I think you might be able to get more for Lance Lynn than you got for Yu Darvish. If you ask me tomorrow, I'd say that maybe you could get about the same value for Lance Lynn that you got for Yu Darvish. And hey, that might be a pretty good everyday player in Willie Calhoun, at least offensively. You know, that's I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a great question. That's a great question. All right, that's going to do it for us here, I think. Let me just make sure we don't have any more. Yep. All right, that's going to do it for us. 877-881-1053 is the number to call. Save that number. It's the number to text as well. That's going to do it for us. I want to thank you all for hanging with me for nearly an hour here on Rangers Extra Innings. We'll be back tomorrow, 11:30. Nope, 11:30 Pacific. 1:30 pregame, 2:05 first pitch, postgame thereafter. Hope you'll join us on Rangers Extra Innings. Again, the Rangers over the White Sox tonight, 6-5. Hey, one last time, since the Astros have lost 7 straight as well. Rangers win, Astros lose. All right, you know what? The Astros losing 7 games in a row is good enough for me. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Larry. All right, y'all, I gotta go. I need to get some sleep. Have a great night.